Hi, Claudia.
Hi, BSC. How are you today?
Great. Ready.
I'm ready too. Very
Perfect.
exciting.
So great to have you here. Okay, so let's wait a little bit longer. And
So
as I
I'm
was
not being
saying,
antisocial by not turning my camera on. I've got I'm on like a shared Wi-Fi. So if I turn
don't
on my
worry.
camera, it interferes with the connection.
Totally.
So
Don't worry about
I
that.
just, I just wanted you to be no, I'm not being antisocial.
Okay, got it. Great. So let's start about this meeting. We are just in time. And so this meeting is something that we do every month. So every month you can expect an email from us regarding this webinar. And we do like to talk about new features that Monday has because sometimes you don't get the updates. And we want to share with you what are some new functionalities that you should be using, and maybe some use cases, and maybe also some topics that you can do with Monday. In this case, we're going to talk about objectives and key results. And so, as you know, you're free to turn on your camera if you want. There is no pressure here. And so, also to bring your coffee, have your drink ready that you can share with us. What are you drinking today? And so let me introduce the team that is working with us in these other markets. We call them baristas because the idea here is a virtual cafeteria. And so we have Valeria. Valeria is our account manager. Betsy, working in operations. Then we have Natalie. Natalie is our project manager for these kind of projects, especially in the US. As you know, and I think I have a slide here, we are based on Mexico and we have a different team there. Santiago is our product consultant, and we also have Eduardo as product consultant. And so today's agenda is the following. We're going to define and manage OKRs. We are going to talk about how to do it. And of course, a little introduction about what is OKRs. And then we are going to talk about the importance of KPIs because, you know, there are some things to keep in mind. When we implement KPIs, there is a downside of that. And then we are going to talk about the balance scorecard. And this is a template ready to use in Monday that you can use. And finally, we're going to talk about best practices. We have some examples that we can share with you. And finally, we're going to have this space to have questions and answers. And feel free to interrupt me anytime. If you have one question, you can raise your hand using Teams. And you can also write your questions in the chat. And I will be looking at that so we can have this conversation, we can share suggestions, ideas, etc. We are going to learn from you too. So let's start with OKRs because I'm pretty sure you already know about this term. So what we mean when we say OKRs? So basically, OKRs is a framework, and this is the key word. Is a framework that we can use that a lot of companies are using. Actually, OKRs started since 1950s, and this is a great tool that companies such as Google, Intel, Microsoft, and many others are using. And there are some great things we can also apply to our small businesses. So this is a framework that, in a summary, is helping organizations achieve those goals that matter the most. So it is going to be a tool that it's going to help us focus on those objectives that we want to achieve. It's going to help us get aligned. Sometimes we have different teams and departments working on different things. And if we set these objectives right at the beginning, we are going to get aligned, and then there is going to be more commitment and collaboration regarding those objectives that everyone is working to get done. So, of course, in today's fast-paced environment, and we are experiencing also new technologies, artificial intelligence, a lot of tools that is getting things changing, and the environment is changing very fast. So today is very critical that we achieve our objectives, and this is where OKRs come into play, because this is a framework that is going to help us achieve those objectives. Okay, so OKRs are a framework. Again, this is the keyword that is going to help us empower our organization to set ambitious goals, because that's one of the difference between traditional objectives. So we are going to set ambitious goals that we can accomplish, and there are going to be some measurable results that we can track of. Then let's talk about how to define an objective. So the first thing to keep in mind is that the objective is going to be written in one line, no more. We don't need a big paragraph. It's just one line. In this line, we are going to answer what we want to achieve. No more, no less. And the second thing to keep in mind is that they are going to be meaningful. This objective should have a broad impact in their organization, and they're going to be long term. We are going to have some objectives that are going to be present in different periods, let's say quarters, but they are going to be, even though they are going to be long term, they can help us create some measures, and they are very action oriented. And the third thing to keep in mind is that they are inspirational. And when we say inspirational, we mean that the objective should be ambitious but achievable. If you set an objective that is impossible, that the team won't be able to make it, instead of motivating the team, you are going to demotivate the team, because right in the middle, they are going to figure out they are not going to make they are not going to make it. This objective is not achievable, and they are going to let the things go. But in the other case, if you set an objective that is, even though challenging, but can be achieved, the team is going to work together to accomplish that specific goal. So that is the thing that we want to do. We don't want to demotivate the team by setting an impossible objective. We want the objectives to be inspirational and to motivate the team to go beyond their limits or try to achieve beyond what they consider possible. So this is the first thing to keep in mind. 3 characteristics: concise, one line. And the objective is the what we want to achieve. Second thing, they are meaningful for the company. And number 3, they are ambitious, they are inspirational. And so how many objectives can we have in my company, in the department, in a specific team? The best practice here is to have between 3 to 5 objectives, no more. Try to get 3. Don't start with 10 objectives, because then you are not focused anymore and you have too many objectives to focus on. Now let's talk about key results. So if the objective is the what, key results are the how to achieve that specific objective. How many key results can I have? The best practice here is to have between 2 to 7 key results to for each objective. So again, this is going to be the how. Sometimes you're going to have one objective and only 2 key results, but you need to ask yourself, with these 2 key results, I'm going to be able to meet the objective. And if the answer is yes, then that's great. But sometimes you may need up to 5 or 7 key results to accomplish that specific objective. Then we say they are grounded. And the difference here is that the objective is like kind of sounds like a dream, what we want to achieve. But the key results, they are more specific actions or milestones that we want to achieve. There are specific outcomes that is going to guide you, is going to guide us towards the objective. And so it's about defining objectives is about detailing our journey towards our destination. And the number 3 is that they are driven by metrics. These key results are quantifiable. In other words, they are using also this SMART principle. So you probably know about SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So this SMART technique or principle is also associated with key results. They are not fighting. They are not something that you cannot use. You just need to use one or the other, that you can combine both. And so key results are going to be based on metrics. They are going to be quantifiable, and they are going to be based on this SMART principle. One thing to keep in mind is that at the end of the period, let's say at the end of the quarter, you are going to ask yourself, did you accomplish that key result? And the answers are only yes or no. That's it. So this is the great thing about key results, because they are quantifiable. We get to answer if we did accomplish the key result, yes or no. Now let's move to an example here. So I have this example that I really like because I think is sticky. You're going to remember this example. It's very easy. So let's go with the objective. The objective written in one line is make our company go viral. How many key results do we have? We have 3 key results. The first one is to increase our organic search traffic to our website by 20%. Very quantifiable. The second key result that we have is to obtain 10,000 new followers on Instagram. And the last one is to generate 100,000 views on YouTube. So that's it. Very easy to remember. I just lost my window. Let me try to find that. There it is. And so if you have any questions anytime, please don't hesitate to let me know. Okay, so this is the example that we had in mind. Questions from you, comments. Sometimes you are using OKRs and you can provide some suggestions. So let us know what you think. And let me see if we have any questions. Or question for you, are you using OKRs in your company? Have you used OKRs in the past with other companies? What do you think? No? Okay, then that's something we can learn today. Now let's move to the next part. No, I lost another window. I think I have that now. Okay, I see someone. Please, Jones, let us know.
So I have a couple of issues here. One is I don't seem to be able to use the chat. It says chat is only available during the meeting. And so I can't type anything into chat. If you could help me resolve that, that would be super helpful. But to your question on OKRs, yes, we do use them at my employer. And it's a new thing that we're doing, but I've also used them, OKRs, on like my personal work in open source projects. So to help me guide and gauge my own productivity. Just setting those goals and a time frame for achieving them and trying to figure out how I will achieve that goal. Just writing that down has been actually super helpful.
Amazing. And maybe you can share with us some tips and tricks, because it's not something easy to do at first. I mean, it sounds very easy, but then when you're trying to define the objectives, it gets complicated, right?
Right.
So maybe
So
you can
one of
share.
the best examples that I can think of is an OKR that was established by the guy who's currently the CEO at Google. And when he was an engineer, he set an objective to create the best browser available. And that was guiding his work on building Chrome. And then the way that he measured it was the number of active users of the browser, which were slow in the first year or so, but then by the third year, the usage was just monstrous. And Chrome started to win the browser wars.
Yes, and one
But
thing
that was
I love,
it was short, it was
meaningful.
aspirational, yeah, meaningful. Make the best browser. And so that's not my first attempts at doing an objective had too many words. And so I had to work with it over time to learn to express the one big idea, which is what the objective should be. And then, I mean, you want to set it's if you think of it in terms of being like a stretch goal, this is your big stretch goal. And then, figuring out what it is that you're going to measure to determine, are you meeting your goal? It takes a little work. I mean, and there are some good examples out there in the world. One of the reasons I wanted to be able to chat was to share a TED talk by John Doerr, who actually talked about his influence on having Google use OKRs. He's the one that brought the idea of OKRs to Google. And so it's an excellent TED talk. If you want to search for it on YouTube, it's I think it's called something like Setting the Right Goals by John Doerr, and it is a TED talk. So,
and I'm going to provide the link because that TED talk is amazing. And John Doerr is the one that learned from I forgot the name.
Andy Grove.
Andy Grove, thank you. That is considered the father of OKRs. And he learned this technique, this framework in Intel, and then he went into implementing this framework at Google's. And there is an incredible use case that Google has about this success story. So I'm going to share that link. Thank you for bringing this. I'm going to share this link in the chat so you can watch this TED Talk. That is incredible. So the link is in the chat.
Because I can't do it for some reason. That's not working for me.
Great, perfect. Amazing. So the link is in the chat, and thank you very much for sharing with us. Now let's start talking a little bit about KPIs, because today's agenda is talking about KPIs and also balance and scorecard. And then we are going to show you how you can do it with Monday. So talking about KPIs. So KPIs are also a powerful tool. As I was saying, there are some things we need to keep in mind. And in my opinion, you can use both, right? You can have OKRs, but you can also have some KPIs for specific areas, and they both work great. So if we talk about what is KPIs, then we need to talk about the definition, right? But KPIs are going to be some metrics. I like to use the word metrics are going to be useful for evaluating how well the organization is doing, how well that department is doing. And there are a lot of KPIs available. We don't need to imagine new KPIs. I mean, sometimes we need to, right? Because our business model is unique. But for the most part, KPIs are already there. If we're talking about sales, there are some KPIs that we have in mind. If we are talking about marketing, there are some KPIs available, and we can identify new KPIs, but KPIs are going to be metrics that are going to evaluate how well that organization area is doing. The difference with OKRs that KPIs are constant. They are continuously being measured. And we can measure those KPIs sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, monthly, and for sure we are going to monitor those KPIs to ensure that we are running and operating our company efficiently. So let's go with a few examples. We have, for example, I like to use the closing ratio for sales. If we're talking about sales, closing ratio is a great KPI that most of us are tracking. And basically, the closing ratio is going to take into account the amount of deals that we have closed compared to the total deals that we have for a specific period. And so this KPI is going to be tracked sometimes monthly, daily, weekly to assess the sales team's performance, how well they are doing. And sometimes we need this closing ratio per sales representative, right? Sometimes we have a specific sales representative which sales ratio is higher than the other ones. And sometimes we want to identify what is he or she doing so we can learn and apply that to you. And so at the end, just to summarize, OKRs, the difference here is that with the objectives, yes, we are going to have some key results that are going to be quantifiable, but those OKRs are set for a specific period. For example, every quarter. Sometimes we have some companies that they are using OKRs and defining OKRs every year, and that's okay. So, but they are just for a period of time. And the most important thing, OKRs are a great framework to push the organization beyond what they consider achievable. They are great to motivate teams achieve specific and ambitious goals. So this is us trying to go beyond our limits. Now, let's talk about the importance of selecting KPIs. And I'm going to love if you can share with us some examples, because as you know, there is a great phrase here: what you measure is what you get. So in the case of sales, so we have great examples here. Sometimes we experience that when we define specific KPIs for a team or a department, we can see there are some changes in the behavior. The team starts to behave differently, and especially if they are so stressed about the metric and they stop thinking about the goal and the real objective. What is the purpose? What we want to achieve? And this is something that happens with KPI. So it is very important to keep in mind this phrase. What you measure is what you get. It's something to keep in mind. To be careful because KPIs is not something that we have in the company just for mere compliance. It doesn't matter the KPI that much. It matters what we are trying to achieve. What is the purpose here? And I'm going to share with you a few examples, but if you have any other, and I think I have two slides here, I don't know why. Give me 1 second just to confirm here. Here is example. I forgot about this slide. So let's talk about three examples. The first one is the customer satisfaction. The customer satisfaction score. And let's say, because with KPIs, one of the best practices is to have three characteristics. What is the metric, short name, what is the current value, and what is your target? And you can specify if you're going to measure this KPI every month, every quarter, etc. And so if we talk about the customer satisfaction score, this is our KPI. So imagine you have the team that they feel so pressured. They feel so stressed about achieving this KPI. They start to lose the big picture and even and also let's add to this, the company is also putting a lot of pressure here, so it's promising a salary increase to the team that achieves the higher customer satisfaction. So there is a lot of stress around this KPI. And if you think about this and you think what things can go wrong with this, right? And we can think about teams may start to care more about just complying with this KPI. And so here are three ways how they can gain this KPI. The first one is they could manipulate the survey questions. So there are some tricky questions there that could benefit them. The second thing they could do, they could select who is going to get the survey link. So, there are some customers that they are very happy and that they know, and they may send only the survey link to those happy customers. And again, we are only measuring here the customer satisfaction score. I'm not measuring if I'm sending this survey to everyone, right? The third thing that they can do, of course, they can artificially inflate the satisfaction scores. This is something that could happen, okay? So here you have one example. If you have another example, please share that with us. Let's go to see the closing ratio. So regarding the closing ratio, this applies to sales. Again, in having this pressure to meet this target, the sales team may start focusing only on those called low-hanging fruit, those opportunities that are easy to get. Sometimes those opportunities are not going to be profitable, but they know they are easy to close. And because they are too much focused on this KPI, they may go from to that direction, and that is going to impact the company badly. Instead of going not only with the low-hanging fruit opportunities, they could also pursue other opportunities that may be more challenging. And again, this is something that is going to affect sometimes the company position in the marketplace, sometimes the trajectory, growth opportunities, new businesses, new ideas, etc. So I think I had two, but here are two amazing examples that I really like. So in other words, the thing here to keep in mind is when you have KPIs, there is one thing you need to remember. What you measure is what you get. So next time you're writing some KPIs, try to think about what things can go wrong. And that is going to be an amazing activity. Now let's start talking about the balance scorecard. So the balance scorecard, you may know this tool already, but basically this is something we can use in Monday. I'm going to show you in a minute or two. And this is where we can have all these KPIs per department. And so this is a great tool because it's going to provide this visibility about the performance across different multiple areas. And of course, here are some examples here about some KPIs that we can have in the balance scorecard. Let me just go to this last slide. I have two more slides. Just as a recap, best practices in OKR. Simplicity is key, and we talk about having an objective written in one line. How many objectives? Between 3 to 5. That is a great best practice. How many key results per objective? I can have between 5 to 7 or 3 to 7. They should be clear, concise, and written in one line. Now we talk about being written, having some objectives that are aspirational, that they are challenging the team, they are motivating the team to achieve beyond their limits, achieve beyond what they consider possible. And then we have this component that is alignment. So yes, OKR should be visible for everyone in the organization. If you want to go and see where are the OKRs for the marketing team, you should be able to do it. And Monday can help us with that. But it is not enough to have one board where you have all the OKRs. It's not enough to align the teams. You need to also share with the teams the OKRs. You need to have these weekly meetings to review the progress and share, of course, some achievements there. Then, of course, let's keep in mind that with the key results at the end of the period, we are going to ask ourselves, did we or did we not accomplish that key result? And finally, and this is my favorite characteristic of OKRs, they are going to be flexible, they can be adaptable. So there are times, right, and we experience a lot. Just remember the pandemic. We didn't expect that. And so there are moments when the environment has some changes. Sometimes we have competitors. Sometimes we have new products, new features. A lot of things can change. And sometimes we are going to have some OKRs that they may not be relevant anymore and that we need to review, we may need to adjust, or we may need to cancel and create a new one. And that is a great thing with OKRs. They can be adaptable to respond to those changes in our company, in our environment, and sometimes with our customers. And finally, the follow up. Weekly follow-ups is crucial to see how well we are doing, if we are going through the right direction, and see how we can help the teams achieve those OKRs. Now, this is another great thing about OKRs, and this is one of the skills Google is using, and there are another big companies that they are using this tool to quantify if they achieve the OKR. So here we have basically three options: completed, partially completed, and not achievable. And so we can measure OKRs from a scale from 0 to 1 or 100%. At the end is kind of the same. So we can say it's going to be green, that is a solid improvement, or we can mark this as completed if I achieve between 70 to 100%. Because again, the main characteristic about OKRs is that they are aspirational. We are not trying to define some objectives that we know we can achieve. We are trying to go beyond what we consider possible. So achieving it a 70%, 80% is even more that we could have specified as something that is possible, something that is achievable. Below that is partially achieved, and below that is not really progress to that OKR. Is us not meeting the intended goals and key results significantly. Now, let's go to Monday. And again, if you have any comments here, don't hesitate to comment. Now, I just need to find, here it is. Here is Monday. Let me change this screen. So this is the first one. As you know, this is one board. Okay, in this one board, we have an objective as a group, and we have three key results as items, elements. Okay, so let me share with you the columns that we have here. So here you can have, with the example we discussed previously, make our company go viral. This is my objective. And then here we have my key result number 1, 2, and 3. And then we have some progress. Then we have the owner, the status, and the timeline. And let me share with you how can we track these key results weekly. So every week you can receive a reminder, all of the team members working with this OKR, so they can go in this board and document the progress of the week. And one thing I like to do, I like to do this at the end of the week. So let's say Friday. So every Friday, the team, they do know they need to update their progress. So here you're going to have all the weeks. For example, week 1, you're going to have week 1 when they updated this sub-element, the status, and here they are going to enter what is the progress related to this key result. And then here they are going to specify what is the progress, what they did achieve. In this case, they achieve this week a 5% increase in the organic search traffic. What they are planning to do for the next week, in this case, they are planning to implement some optimizations for this web traffic. What problems did they encounter? They encounter some problems with the bounce rate for new pages, and that happens. And this is my favorite part. What did they learn? And here they learn that the quality of the content is crucial to position ourselves right at the top on the web. Okay, so this is how we enter these updates weekly. And again, if you have any comments or questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand in the Teams or comment this right in the chat. Okay, now again, here we can see how these updates look for every single key result. And as you remember, we say, how many objectives can we have and how many key results? And just a question for you. If you are following us, who can tell me how many objectives and how many key results? Maybe in the chat you can write the answer. Now let's talk about the balance scorecard. And I'm going to show you where are these great templates that you can use with Monday. So the balance scorecard can be another board. And here we have the following proposal. So here in the balance scorecard, we can have them grouped by departments. I don't know if you have a different business model, you could have this by teams. You can have by whatever you want. You know, you can group by different things. Even you can group by owners, etc. What do you have inside all of these groups? We are going to have our KPIs, and there are some tips that we can give you. The first one is you can also write the KPI in just a few words. And sometimes the team is going to understand, sometimes not. That's why we have um, this text column that we can add that is a description. So regarding this increased revenue, retain customer needs, reduce office waste, also employee training, recruit partners, etc. As you can see, we have the current performance where we are at. We have the objectives, and here we can write a description. I like to change these to description. So you can, even if this is like a new KPI, new for your organization or for the team, you can write the formula here. Then here we have some initiatives in case we have some initiatives for that specific KPI. And then, of course, if we have the current performance, we are going to have the target. What do we want to achieve next period? What is the measure? Is this in dollars? Is a percentage of churn? Is NPS results? What is how we are going to measure this? And then we have the budget in case that you have budget, especially for those initiatives. And here at the end, you can specify if you are on target or not, or you're partially there. And you can add some notes, you can add some files, and as you know, we can customize this even more. And I would like to ask you if some of you are using balance scorecards, if you have some tips and tricks that you can share with us. In the meantime, let me open here so I can share with you how you can find these templates for Monday. So as you know, in your board, you can go to create a new board and you can click on this, choose from templates. And here you can look for the OKR board. And then again, you can customize this. You can also look for the balance scorecard and you can add it these two. One thing that we would suggest if you are starting with OKRs and you are using Monday, that you can have one workspace per OKR. And then you can have probably in another workspace that you already have the balance scorecard. You can have this meeting, workshop with your departments and leaders to write those KPIs that you are trying to meet every month or that you want to review every week. So I don't know if you have any comments. Let me see some chats, but please share with us if you are using OKRs or the balance scorecard, and if you can share with us some tips and tricks. Who wants to share with us? If you are using OKRs, the balance scorecard tool, or if you have any questions, we still have some minutes.
I just want to talk a little bit about OKRs for a second.
Yes.
I know there are, the suggestion is to have 3 to 5 or what have you. But in the example
Yes.
that John Doerr gives, there's only one objective, and that's to create the best browser. And actually, at my company, we also use a single objective, um, because that's the goal that we're setting for a given time period, which in our case is 6 months. Uh, the building the best browser was actually a 3-year objective. That objective was pursued for 3 straight years. So there's a lot of flexibility. And when I do my own personal objectives, I work on different open source projects. So I usually set a single goal for each project, and then the key results are measurable over a period of 6 months. And that's probably just because it's what I got accustomed to
Great.
from the way that we're directed to do them at the company where I work. So you can do 3 to 5. I think if you're really truly doing aspirational objectives, one is sufficient for a given time period. I think 3 to 5 is, excessive. The other thing that's, I think, different between KPIs and OKRs is that OKRs are never used to assess performance of an individual or a team. OKRs can be set at the individual level. They can also be set at the team level and at the business unit level. And we tend to do ours at the team level. Um, so that's just, that's one data point. But I
I
think,
love it.
what makes
Yes.
things difficult to grasp is the lack of examples. I think examples make these concepts and these ideas
Oh,
more easily understood. And so I just wanted to share
thank you.
those examples.
Thank you so much. I love all the comments and the suggestions that you have. And let me just emphasize a few because that is great. So, you can find a lot of information in the internet. You can find a lot of certifications right now. And of course, they can tell you you can write 3 to 5 objectives, 5 to 7 key results. But at the end, please remember, this is a framework and you have unique people, unique processes, unique challenges. Your company and your environment is unique. So there is no one size fits all. So if you can start with one objective, that is going to be great. I had the pleasure to work with very big companies and some small ones, and I saw a lot of things. I saw some companies where the CEO was defining 4 objectives. Sometimes we saw leaders defining up to 10 objectives. So I saw a lot of things. At the end, you just need to ask yourself, what are those things that matter the most? What are the main objectives we want to achieve? And if you can write one objective that can be for a several years, that's great. But you need to ask yourselves. And one thing I think I didn't mention is that one of the best practices is that at the end of the period, let's say every quarter or after 6 months, after 1 year, you have this retrospective, and you met with the team and you ask what went wrong, what went great, what can be improved, and what actions are you going to commit for the next period so you can evolve your practice with OKRs and that you can adapt this framework. There are a lot of best practices out there, but please just consider there is no one size fits all. And the second thing that you mentioned that I saw in different companies is that they are trying to take these OKRs and combine the results with a performance measure. And sometimes they have bonuses, and sometimes they have compensations based on how well you how well that the OKRs went, or how well did you behave with the OKRs. And Best practice is not to link OKRs with compensations, with bonuses, with performance metrics per employee or teams. That is just not something good, because with OKRs we're trying to achieve what matters for the company. Not We are not measuring how well a company, an employee is doing. And a lot of things can go wrong with that. The same as we did mention with the KPIs, what you measure is what you get. And there is this great tool that probably, Jones, you already know. And I'm just happy that you are here in the meeting. And so this is whatmatters.com. And I'm going to also share the link with you. You can have here very short videos on how to get started, how to, and here's the TED Talk too, how to set objectives, key results, and there are not so many examples. These are not public information, unfortunately. It would be great to have, to be able to see all the OKRs that these big company have, but we have some information. And so here you can find some OKRs per company, just apply to the company in general, for marketing, for sales, for HR, and you can take a look on this and get inspired and try to get into OKR. So I'm going to share this link right away in the chat. And thank you very much, Jones, for sharing all these tips and the experience that you have with OKRs in your organization and in your personal projects. And that is great. So we still have 10 more minutes. I don't know if you have any questions regarding Monday, if you have something to share with us. Oh, thank you. And if you cannot use the microphone, just write something in the chat and I can read this. And so I have Israel here that Monday is very, very intuitive, and that's correct. And so the team share with you a link. This is a form where you can take this survey, and if you have any questions and you want us to get in contact with you, we can do it through this form. So if you have any questions, if you need some advice on how to get started with Monday or OKRs, please don't hesitate to take this link. So that's great. I already covered how you can have these ready to use templates, and I expect that you can customize this board. That is the great thing about Monday, that you can customize this based on your needs. And if you need any help, please don't hesitate to contact us. Again, actually, and I think I didn't mention this, but this is our first webinar for the US. And I'm happy because one of our first webinars, we had a few participants in Mexico, and I think last week we had more than 100 participants in our webinar. And I don't remember what we talked about. Oh, yes, we talked about strategies for having a lot of projects, like programs, and that was great. We had a collaboration with the PMI, the Project Management Institute here in Mexico, and there were great feedback about how people are using different strategies to manage multi-projects. And we are going to invite you to do Spanish webinars if you want to join, but we are starting these editions in English. As you know, we are based in Mexico, but we have clients in the US, and we want to provide this information. We want to bring to you new features about Monday, new things that you can do, and talk about great topics. So if you have any topic in mind, don't hesitate to share that with us. We are going to plan for next webinars, and we are going to share those with you. So thank you everyone for joining today. It was a pleasure to have you and talk about OKRs and the balance scorecard. And we're going to send you the information for the next webinar. You can expect a great topic also. So thank you everyone for your time. And I hope to see you soon next month with your drink. Just have your drink ready and we can discuss also what are you drinking in this cafeteria every month. So thank you everyone.